Smoke. OVS, Old Virginia Smoke.
This podcast is brought to you by the Kansas City BBQ Store, the official provider of barbecue supplies to listeners of Pitmaster. It's June, which means the month that summer starts, Father's Day, and getting ready for July 4th. That means getting all of your grilling and barbecue supplies in order. From smokers and fuel to rubs and sauces, the Kansas City BBQ Store has everything and anything you could want. And get this, as a listener of the OVS Pitmaster podcast, you can get 10% off of your order this summer by using the code PITPOD, PITPOD, for online orders at www.thekansascitybarbecuestore.com. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. So visit the kansascitybarbecuestore.com today for all of your barbecue needs. Welcome to another episode of Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast. I'm your host, Luke Darnell. And this week, we have somebody that is very special to me and very near and dear to my heart. She's recently been named as a 2022 inductee into the BBQ Hall of Fame. But to me, she's done way more for the sport than that. And I'd like to introduce all of you to Lee Ann Whippen. Lee Ann, how are you?
I am fantastic. And that was such a sweet intro. And you mean the world to me. So it's a pleasure to be here.
So I want to rewind a little bit into, I think it was the first time we really spent any time together. You had your restaurant in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And I reached out to you through a mutual friend of ours, and you accommodated 40 independent grocers that I had in town for a meeting and then took them of a tour of the kitchen. And it just absolutely blew me away. It was so cool.
Yeah, it was a great kitchen. I had 2 Southern Pride 1000s in there, and we were doing upscale barbecue. You know, I started this whole competition rib thing that took off. You know, we were doing Wagyu beef ribs. So doing the Chicago gig really was a big change for me from the restaurants in Virginia. Sorry, my fire alarm they're testing. So bear with me. That'll keep your audience alert and awake. So it allowed me to step outside that traditional, the pork, chicken, brisket thing, and be able to do some other really cool things, from brining, Duroc thick cut pork chops and it was fun to do chores, and I was really big on being on the floor and doing tableside pork shoulders for, hundreds of dollars for the show and all that. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a great place, and it was in one of my favorite cities. I absolutely adore Chicago, and this is the longest since I graduated college that it's been since I've been to Chicago. So I trying to find a reason to go.
Yes,
but then
I miss it.
Yeah, let's fast forward to the incredible time that we had this year doing the Big 12 Big Q and freezing Kansas City. That was a good time.
It was a great time. I mean, we had the best of the best out there. We had Brad and Tim, Blues Hog, and it was remarkable that we're out there in snow, and we have all of our pits out there, and Prairie Fresh was out there, and El Bandito Tequila. So it was a really nice event. It's a shame that the weather kind of put a damper on things, but nevertheless, just being together was probably the best part of the whole thing.
Absolutely. And you and I kind of kept a heavy social calendar during that event.
We were busy.
We were busy. And it was like, okay, we need to get out of here. We don't belong in this place anymore. So, but that was a ton of fun. But what we really need to do is congratulate you on being an inductee into this year's Hall of Fame class.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
After 3 years of being nominated, finally got in this year, and it is an extreme honor, something that, I've strived for. It's been a goal for me my whole life. And my whole life has really revolved around barbecue. I think I was recognized pretty much because I've touched all different areas of barbecue, albeit competition circuit, TV, restaurants, and now in radio. And also I enjoy being a champion for women in barbecue.
And that's something that is really meaningful to me. It seems like, I go out of my way to meet every female pitmaster that I come across, just because I think, it's a
Because
male
they're
dom.
females.
Well, okay, that's fair.
No, I hear
But I mean, it
you.
is a white male dominated sport. And when you see, especially if you see young women out there participating, I think it's fantastic. And you are always one of the names that they bring up as an inspiration. So
Oh,
that's pretty
thank you.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing it a long time. Actually, went to the Royal and won first place in pork the first year out of the gate, and that was in 1996. And there was kind of a lull with female pit masters. You had Melissa Cookston and Diva, and it was just a handful, and it stayed very stagnant for a long period of time. And I'm finding that in the past 5 years, there's been a huge influx of female pit masters and really kicking some butt. And it's really awesome to see. And I'm really liking that. And I think it's just going to continue to grow.
I hope so. It's great seeing people from different parts of life and different parts of the world coming out and cooking. And and you being someone that got into this, gosh, how many years ago now? This has been pretty much your whole life.
26 years. Yeah, it's been a long time.
26 years. I mean, you've seen it all and done it all. And one of the questions that I always ask somebody is, how have your experiences outside of barbecue prepared you for success in competition barbecue? Well, your whole life has been barbecue pretty much.
Well, before barbecue, I was actually in the hotel food and beverage side for 15 years. So I had a food and beverage background, which, assisted in the business side of things when it came to restaurants. It wasn't like, oh, I like barbecue, let's open up a joint. No, I knew the business to bite the bullet, quit my hotel job and buy, a 24-foot trailer with a Jed Master on it, which I still have to this day and use it. But it's amazing where barbecue has led my life and really how it's evolved. It's grown into being just so massive in so many respects.
Absolutely. You got five alarm fire.
Yeah.
But so you had food and beverage, and that definitely had to play a huge part in terms of, opening restaurants and stuff. In terms of competition barbecue, what has been the most surprising thing to come out of that for you? Meaning, what has participating in this hobby done for you that you didn't expect when you first started?
Well, it's led to, it's kind of gone in all different directions. It's really the basic, growth of barbecue. And how it's expanded. So now I'm the co-host of Barbecue Nation Radio. So it's even gone into radio shows now where you don't even necessarily need to see the barbecue. It's talking about it, just like what you do on your podcast. And people just love to talk about barbecue, it seems like. And I do too. So you've got the radio angle and, it's led to obvious TV shows for myself, which has helped my business a lot. And it's helped with getting women more involved, I think. So a lot of that stems from the competition, I think, side of it.
Absolutely. I would agree 100%. It just gives you another leg to stand on, really.
Sure.
Not that you need any more, Let's, one of the things that struck me about watching you cook at Big 12 was that you have a lot of confidence in what you're doing and in your process. Where does that confidence come from?
I think it comes from just years of experience. I'm comfortable cooking barbecue, so I don't feel stressed out. If anything, it takes stress away from me. And I don't know if it's necessarily confidence. It's just that I enjoy what I do. And I'll have failures on the grill now and again, but I just go along with it and it just seems to flow for me.
You do seem very, very comfortable when you're around the pit. It's pretty cool to watch. You just mentioned a key thing that I love to ask, and that's failures. We'd love to get on these shows and talk about how great everybody is and everything that everybody's won, and that's great and everything. But I like to talk about failures. Do you have a particular favorite failure of yours at a competition, where you really screwed something up, but it taught you something moving forward that led to success later on?
Yes, and I will never forget it. So, gosh, this was probably 15 years ago. I was working with Smithfield. I lived in Virginia at the time. So I helped them organize a KCBS event in Virginia Beach. And along with helping with the organization, I actually competed. So I wanted to do really well. And so anyway, we turned in all the categories, and Carolyn Wells of the Kansas City Barbecue Society, she was the rep for it. And she's walking towards my trailer with her head down. And I'm like, "What's wrong, Carolyn?" She goes, "Hey, did you cut your ribs?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course I cut my ribs." She goes, "Like completely cut your ribs?" I said, "Well, yeah, I thought so." And she goes, "No, you didn't." And I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "You just got DQ'd." And I said, "What?"
Oh,
And I always want to turn in the best possible product. I like to get 8 ribs in the box, but if I don't have 8 stellar ribs, I'm going to go 6. And evidently I turned in 6, and one of them I didn't cut through all the way. So they stayed together, which technically is not 6 individual, portions for the judges. And I got DQ'd, and I will never, ever make that mistake again. When I cut through ribs, I move them off to the side to make sure they're 100% separated. So that's my biggest failure for sure.
it happened to me one time. I didn't get DQ'd, but as I was putting them in the box, I found one that was attached, and I was just like, "Holy shit!"
Whew,
Like,
close one.
right, and then so now I do the same thing. I move them all separately
Yep. You
and
slide
touch
them
each
off
one.
Yeah. Yep.
That way I know that they're all good.
Yeah. That's the only time I've been DQ'd. I really haven't had any other complete disasters. I mean, I've seen disasters where people put, their food in the box upside down, the number's on the wrong side. So technically when the boxes hit the table, they have to flip the box over so the garnish is on top of your food. I've
Yeah.
heard that horror story, and foreign objects being found. And I heard the other day that somebody had a plastic glove and somebody had a paper towel. You know how you keep your garnish kind of cool with a wet paper towel? It got stuck to the lid, and when they closed the lid and it hit the table, it was on top of the food. So
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't had to, just the rib thing was my worst.
Yeah, that's a tough one, especially if it's Carolyn walking to your trailer.
Yep. Yep. She felt bad.
So when you're at a competition and you feel overwhelmed or unfocused, or you feel like things aren't going smoothly, how do you get yourself back into that zone, into that place?
Well, I have a song that I play that gets me kind of back in the game. It's Eminem, "Lose Yourself." You got one shot, and that I
Yeah.
always play. That's my pre-comp song. A lot of people know that. Some people don't. But that song just gets me fired up. And, so I'll just play a little line of that. But, that's the part of being, I think, a really good pit master, is to overcome the obstacles, whether it be, the weather, the wind, whatever it is. That's the part that really challenges you, because it's not going to be a perfect cook every time. Also, I'm a big person with safety. And what I mean by that is safety in numbers. So I'm always going to do at least 2 briskets. So I have a backup one. I'm going to do 16 pieces of chicken. I'm going to do, 4 to probably 6 racks of ribs. Whereas, years ago, I would do like 16 racks of ribs and I would lose focus. So I learned to cut that down. But when I have the safety net, it takes some of the pressure off. But nevertheless, you're going to have things that are going to happen. Sometimes I'll turn in a box and say, I like to sprinkle with a little, of Maldon salt sometimes on my pork, and I'll have the salt sitting right next to the box so I don't forget it, and I'll miss it. And I'll look down at the table after I send in the box and say, "Oh my God." And there's nothing you can do at that point, So, yeah. So I just, a lot of deep breaths. I'm very good about having lists and organization. So if I lose my focus, I can refer to my list, and I know where I'm at on the list. So that helps me to get back into the zone and where I'm at.
That's cool. And that's good advice too. I'm pretty much helter skelter with everything in my life except barbecue. Like that, I have lists and I have I can always know I can fall back on that and look at it and get myself
Mm-hmm.
where I need to be. This podcast is brought to you by BBQData.com. BBQData.com is your one-stop shop for all of your barbecue competition data. Historical data, calls, wins, placements, everything under one roof. It's a great way not only to track yourself in the standings, but also to track how you improve your scores from year to year. Listeners of this podcast can receive 20% off of a new subscription to BBQData.com with the code PITPOD. That's one word, all capital letters, PITPOD, PITPOD. So check your team scores, check on others, and do it all on BBQData.com. Switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about people.
Mm-hmm.
Who has impacted your life the most in competition barbecue?
Well, obviously my father, he got me into it, 26 years ago, always doing it in the backyard. So he, of course, would be number one. I highly regard Myron Mixon. I think that he has taken kind of where we were, all of us, we kind of had a clan then, and kind of elevated barbecue and brought it into television and really showed people what competition barbecue is like without having to compete. And he's not only expanded his empire through sauces and restaurants, just his whole persona. So I look up to him greatly. And Chris Lilly would be another one I look up to. Huge admiration for him as well, for a lot of the same reasons.
Yeah, they're both great dudes. I enjoy spending any time that I can with them. It's just always
And
a good
Tuffy
time.
Stone. I remember Tuffy and I, we used to compete in Virginia because we were both there. And I remember when he first got into it. And I remember the first comp we were against each other. And that was before he was really hitting it hard. And it's really interesting to see. He really grew at a fast pace. He made a name for himself relatively quickly. And I admire him as well.
Yeah, he's obviously, being from Virginia myself, it's great to be friends with both of you, and he's just such a wealth of information that
Yes.
anytime I talk to him, it is fantastic.
And I'm going to have to also give kudos to Melissa Cookston, even though I didn't run the MIM circuit very often. What she did for women in barbecue and to be able to win the world's there and predominantly in whole hog, that makes a huge statement. And she also has grown her empire with everything, her restaurants, etc. So and I definitely look up to her.
She's also a favorite of mine.
Mm-hmm.
She's I remember the first time we were next to her, she was doing a bunch of stuff for Smithfield, and she kept sneaking around the back of our trailer and smoking cigarettes. She's like,
yeah.
She's like, I need to hide back here, or Mom's going to see,
Well, it was interesting because I judged the finals at Memphis in May, and Melissa, she wasn't in the finals that year, but I actually have been to her house, went there with Dave Raymond of Sweet Baby Ray's, and we went to her house and she cooked a whole hog, and she did this spiel that she does, at Memphis in May, and she was like on autopilot. It was amazing. It's like push a button and she just was like on it. And I really respected that too. So that was a great experience.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a barbecue issue, who do you reach out to help you solve it?
My second self.
Yeah.
Usually I'm by myself, but my daughter, my oldest daughter, Brittany, like I just competed with her in Florida. If I ever question, well, of course they're going to taste or whatever. So they're going to help me. And I'll say, does this look good for presentation? If I kind of alter it or do something last minute, because I will do that sometimes, which I shouldn't. She keeps me well grounded. She understands my game face and how I'm not really a nice person during turn-ins. And so she will keep me grounded. So my youngest daughter does the same thing as well. So I really look to them to keep me grounded and focused and calm, I guess would be the word.
Wow, there's 3 of you? That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. That's the Wood Chicks. We were the Wood Chicks.
This is one of my favorite questions because you don't strike me as a superstitious person very much. But
Mm.
do you have any habits or rituals or routines that you've established for yourself that you have to do at competitions?
Well, I am superstitious actually. So I have this thing with good luck pennies or pennies that I find if they're heads up, I'll pick it up, tails down, no. And then I put it in my sock, carry it around the whole day for good luck. And then at the end of the day, I throw them in the bottom of my laundry basket. So every time I'm done with laundry, I see all my good luck pennies. But I am superstitious with pennies. As a
Wow.
matter of fact, I found one when we were doing the Illinois 300 in the car on the way because we were competing in tacos and ribs, and I found a good luck penny, and I very superstitious, and then I didn't win that, so now I don't know if I'm superstitious anymore if the good luck penny thing works.
Oh my gosh, that was heavily
Yeah.
detailed. Do you have any other superstitions or rituals you got to do?
No, I don't like when a comp lands on the 13th, Friday the 13th. Yeah, that's just, it creeps me out. But, other than that, no, not really.
Huh. That penny
How
thing
about
is.
you?
Do I? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah, I've
Do
got.
you like bless your apple juice and
No, I don't do any of that. And a lot of the shit that I do, I've picked up from this podcast.
really?
Like Saturday morning or Friday morning, I have to sharpen all my knives on a hone and I have to make 21 swipes with each knife.
Oh,
Got that from Bobby Stanfield with BS Barbecue Outlaws because he was very detailed about it. And I
uh,
caught myself doing it. And I'm like, oh man, now you're incorporating other people's shit into your shit.
right, right.
I have to wear my red, white, and blue Blues Hog wristbands. If I don't put those
Okay,
on, that's a problem. I have a red flag that you see on the back of, like over length vehicles on the highway. You know how they put those red flags
right.
on them. I
Uh-huh.
picked one up in a ditch once when the lid of my smoker flew off, and I had to walk back in the
Wow.
rain and get it. And I've had that flag with me at every competition since.
Well, I had Pinky the pig, and that was a stuffed pink pig, and we had a little rubber band around it, and we'd had dollar bills stuck in it, and we used to hang Pinky, and that was from a Virginia, Louisa, Virginia, is where
Oh
I got
God.
that, and then there was a little girl there, and she was wearing all pink, and so I hadn't named the pig, and so I named it Pinky after her, and I don't know where that pig is now. That's probably maybe my problem. But I do also wear my pig earrings, my pig necklace to every single cup with no fail. I mean, I have to wear those items. And I know
Yep.
you aren't going to do that. So you aren't going to copy me on that one.
I no, I'm not going to do that, but I do have three specific. Well, now I'm up to four specific pairs of underwear that I will wear at a contest. And I won a few weeks ago in Aden, North Carolina, and that was a new pair. So now I'm up to four.
Wow.
Yeah, and those four, it's really hard to incorporate a new pair.
Mm-hmm.
I only wear me undies because they're just amazing, soft underwear, and there's no problems down there when
Interesting.
it's really hot. And I now have over 100 pairs, and they're actually in stacks. Like there's a competition stack, there's everyday
You
wear,
have them separated. Wow. Good for you.
there's holidays, like specific, like I have a whole week of Christmas underwear. Um,
Very nice.
it's a terrible, terrible problem. But I could talk about superstitions all day because I just have.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of people that have them.
I have to listen to the same. We have playlists for each meet, so it's the same
Oh,
5 songs for each turn in for each meet. To change that takes like an act of Congress.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and there's just all kinds of. I could spend an hour talking about that.
It's awesome.
We're
I
saving
love
that
it.
for the 100th episode of the
Yeah,
podcast.
there you
So,
go. Uh-huh.
all right. So yeah, okay, penny thing.
Hmm.
Now I have to think about that whenever I see that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the Eminem song. Is there any other music that you got to listen to when you're cooking?
No, that's it. That's the only one that's like my pre-game, my, pre-comp song. And I do not I don't really pay attention to that much music when I'm doing my thing. I love music, but a lot of the people around me are playing loud music. So I'm not going to get into that fight. No, I'm not. It doesn't really matter to me. I like some country.
Yeah, I I don't like getting into those fights either, but if somebody's blaring like sad country,
Yeah.
I can't take it. It's
Yeah.
then I will get into a speaker war
Yeah.
with as much gangster rap as I can put out there.
Love it.
So,
Love it.
so okay, a couple more of these. Then I got some other questions that aren't on the list that I want to ask you. When you're planning for a competition, is your week the same? Like, do you do the same thing? Well, I guess when's the last time you cooked a KCBS contest?
And it was the end of January or was it
Oh,
end of
okay.
February this year?
I
Yeah, so
thought that you
recent.
had. Right. So does
hmm
your planning and prep, is it the same for every competition? Do you try and make it the same?
This one was different because I hadn't competed in Florida, so I didn't have the same sources of my proteins. So I had to do my homework there. And I was running all over the place. I was getting, a Wagyu brisket here, COB here, whatever. And I did do, since I hadn't competed in a while, I did a couple practice runs 2 weeks prior. But I have a checklist once again, for my comps, so I don't forget anything. And it's just nailing down my source for the proteins and trying to get it as close to when I'm leaving as possible, so it's as fresh as possible. Although I like to age the brisket a little bit, but it's pretty much the same, and it does take me a full week, And now, since things have changed for prep time, I always used to trim everything on site, and finally started looking outside the box and trimming chicken ahead of time. So of course that's going to happen ahead of time. I mean, even brisket. So that's changed for me. But other than that, I follow the same checklist and, just try to source the best proteins. As far as sauces and rubs, I will do like chicken. When I did the test 2 weeks prior, I did try a couple new things just for the heck of it. And to see if I can up my game a little bit, because when you're outside of competition for a while, things change and you need to stay up with the times, I guess. So yeah. Anyway, I had to work on that a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Trimming on site. That's,
Everything.
I try and avoid that at all costs. I like to show up trimmed, and that way I can dedicate myself to fun stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, let's transition here now to my favorite topic, which is gear and stuff. What's one of the best investments that you've ever made in competition barbecue?
Well, thermopen. I mean, that's mandatory. I really, I know there's a lot of gloves out there, but I really favor these like black neoprene gloves. And they aren't the style that I used over the years. They're not easy to come by. So I favor that. And of course, Yeti coolers are, top of my list to have those now. It really helps out. And what else? I guess that's about it that I can think of right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeti.
Also another thing I always like to have is a very good grease separator.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah, I like that. Um, what else? What else? Good knives. Have to have good knives. Nothing worse than, really good knives. And I also use the Cuisinart electric knife sometimes when I run into trouble. And that's a good standby for me. So I like that too.
Just made me sad.
Why? You got rid of yours?
No, I've never used one.
Oh, sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't, but I just always bring it with me. And, I have this weird Pyrex glass dish, and I want to say it's a 9x9 glass dish. And that's to help me if I get into trouble on brisket, I'll heat up, my stock or whatever in that. And it perfectly holds my slices of meat and I fill it just enough so it doesn't go to the very tippy top of the meat and take your rub off. And it's just my little glass dish I like to have with me all the time for emergencies.
That's a good one. I always try and keep one of those stupid little foil pans for that same thing.
No, this glass one is nice.
Yeah, that makes sense. And
Mm-hmm.
another good tip there that she probably didn't intend to give you, like don't wash off the top of your brisket.
When
I
you
did.
dunk it in.
Oh God, I did that
Oh,
shit
spray
earlier.
bottles. I love spray bottles. So always
Yeah,
have to have spray bottles.
I did that shit earlier this year. I put it in the pan and then just dumped the jus over top. And I'm like,
Yeah, no.
what are you 12? What
Like
are you
you should know
doing?
better than that. Yeah.
Right. Why did you
Yeah.
just do what you did? That's so dumb. Do you use a lot of technology when you're cooking, like
No.
gurus or anything like that?
No. I have used gurus before, even on TV. I think you'll see I had a guru on an egg in Dover, Delaware. Um, now I use WSMs. I usually bring a WSM, an egg. Well, now obviously Pit Boss. My Jambo Pit, my Jed Masters. So I've got all kinds of cookers going. None with any technology except the thermometers that are on there. But I have put on my Jed Master gurus because it can be very temperamental. If I know I'm going into like very damp weather, it's kind of finicky, and so I'll use it on that. But other than that, no, I just like old school cooking, so not
So
really.
you're more of a field cook.
I am absolutely.
Uh, I have transitioned from being a gadget person and everything to a field cook. And one of the things that I find is like when your gut's telling you to do something, like
Mm-hmm.
how do you process making that call if it's contradictory to what you've always done or if it doesn't feel like it's the right time, but you just feel that it is the right time. Like
Yeah,
how do you
it's
process that stuff?
it's hard, as you know. And you'll make mistakes just like you did with the au jus. You know darn well not to do that, but yet in the heat of the moment, you just do it. And um, it's just so stressful and crazy for those moments, that 10-minute window, that you tend to sometimes stray and do things that you normally wouldn't do. Like sometimes, like ribs, for example, rather than stack them, 4 and 4, all of a sudden turn them on an angle. And for what reason? Why did I do that? I don't know. And I'll just say, it looks better. It looks better on the garnish that way. It's like, no, don't do that. And you just do things. It's weird. You're right. It's a gut feeling. And then most of the time it doesn't work for me. It's usually a mistake.
But it's a delicate balance though, because, and this is what, from doing this podcast and talking to a bunch of people, it's really taught me to, just because you've done something the whole time, if you eat your food and it doesn't require something that you've always done, you really do have to edit yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I think I'm getting better at that, but
Yeah,
that's
every
part of
piece of
that.
meat's different. You know that. You
Yeah.
can, say, okay, this is my method, this is my rub, this is my injection, da da da. Every meat reacts differently, and you have to be a good little pit master and, adapt and change to make it the best it can be.
Well, this has been so much fun.
It has.
But now I've got the rapid fire questions.
Okay, I'm good.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I
Okay.
think. All right.
What do you see about barbecue on social media that upsets or bothers you?
Copycats. It's like all of a sudden something will come out and then everybody copies it and posts it and acts like they're the ones that invented it. So that kind of is annoying.
Yeah, that's very annoying.
I would say that's my big thing.
Okay. Do you have any favorite pre, during, or post competition meals?
Um, I always eat eggs before comps. I need to have my protein, so I always have to have eggs. But other than that, no. And then at the end of comps, I like to eat Mexican food.
Man, everybody does. That's a very popular answer.
Yeah, Mexican
Do you have a favorite present that you like to give to people?
food. To cook for them. I mean, I know it
That's a
sounds
great answer.
crazy.
No.
My latest craze, though, I will tell you, this happened this past Christmas, is I like these push button electronic salt and pepper grinders. You can change, with the grind on it. And that's like a good all around gift for everybody. And I also try to buy people Malden salt because they don't realize how good it is and how it's a great finishing salt. And I'll put it in one of those salt things that has a little slide top. That's a good little gift too. So those are my hot gifts right now.
I love Malden salt. It's amazing as a finisher.
Yeah.
All right, last one. If you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, getting a message out to millions, what would it say and why?
Be my BFF, which is barbecue friend forever. That's it.
Hey, that's not bad. That's not bad. Oh, there is one more question. Who's your favorite dance partner in the barbecue ranks when you're in a bar in Kansas City?
That would absolutely be Mr. Luke Darnell because he is awesome on the floor. I mean, the girls like turn into like an audience and just they all want to dance with you. Amazing.
So that was a fun night.
It was.
Oh my God. I can't even remember that one guy's name we were hanging out with, but that was ridiculous. Cool.
That's the memories, right?
Absolutely. And that's what the number one thing about barbecue is the people. So,
yep. Sure.
All right. So where can people find you online? And are there any partners that you'd like to highlight? Any sponsors?
Well, of course, I'm a brand ambassador for Pit Boss Grills, and that's the official grill of NASCAR. And I've been with them a year, and I truly believe in their products. And I love that they're a family owned and operated business, and they've just been wonderful to work with. You know, what was the first part of the question? Sorry, short.
Oh, where can people find you online?
Social media. Lee Ann Whippen on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I do have a very small YouTube channel, Lee Ann Whippen BBQ. And then I just started a website. So it's basically just a landing page right now. And that would be Lee Ann Whippen BBQ as well.
Yep. I was on there today.
Yeah. It's just basic. I got to add to it.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I hope
I'll be at the American Royal this year for the festivities for the induction of the Hall of Fame, which I am so fired up about. My family will be out there, so I can't wait to see everybody, and I am very blessed.
I too am very excited about that, and I'm going to make every attempt to be there. And
of course,
are you going to cook the contest?
I'm thinking about it. I'm in the talking stages right now.
Okay.
Actually, to team up with somebody, that would be a fun little. I don't normally do that, but we're in a little chit chat right now. So I figure I'm already out there, so why not? And he's going to be out there, so why not? So anyway, we're in talking stages. I don't know if it'll actually happen or not, so we'll see.
Well, if it doesn't, you're always welcome in my trailer.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
All right, Lee Ann, we'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Okay, appreciate it. Enjoyed being on the show, and
yes,
congratulations to you on your upcoming show on with Michael Simon, right? In August,
Barbecue USA. It'll be airing August 8th at 9 p.m. The show starts on July 11th, and it's very exciting to be a part of that, and I can't wait to see it. It's also very nerve-wracking. Not knowing what they're going to show and stuff like that.
Yeah. You never know how you're going to be portrayed. And, you sign those contracts, leaving the door open to however they want to carve you out. But, I worked with Michael Simon on the Barbecue Brawl, and he's a riot. So I'm sure he had a blast with him. And he's, obviously, top chef, and it should make for great entertainment. And I look forward to watching it.
He's people have asked me, like, what's he like? I'm like, he's just like a normal dude. Like, he's
a little elevated. I'm going to give him a notch up. He's not normal. He's like high energy, high laugh from like the morning until night. I don't know where it comes from. It's hard to take sometimes.
When he's in your trailer at 5 a.m. and he's like, coffee now. And I'm like, got you covered, big guy. So,
yep.
All righty. We'll see you. I hope I see you before the Royal, but if not, we'll definitely see you out there.
Great. All right. Well, good luck on the barbecue trail, and I will see you soon.
Thank you for listening to Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast. Be sure to subscribe and like the podcast, rate the podcast, and to share it out with your friends. Also be sure to check out the Old Virginia Smoke TikTok as well. Old Virginia Smoke, one word. That's all you have to search for. It's hilarious. Tune in next week for another great episode of Pitmaster. For companies interested in advertising, please contact Old Virginia Smoke directly via www.oldvirginiasmoke.com. Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast, is edited by Chris Sedanka. Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast, is a property of Old Virginia Smoke LLC. All rights reserved. Copyright 2022.